But then he includes a second teaching, which I think is interesting because the man came to him asking him, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus answers him, here's the greatest commandment. And then Jesus keeps talking. He does that sometimes. He says, not only should you love God, that's the greatest commandment, but don't leave before I leave you with this also, that you should love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, well, who's your neighbor? Well, the word in Greek literally means those who are physically near to you. So when you think about neighbors, don't think necessarily about the people who live next door to you or across the street or in your neighborhood, although those people are definitely your neighbors. Think about anybody who is physically close to you at any time. Every person in this room is your neighbor right now. When you go to the store, the people that you're walking past, the cashiers, they are your neighbors. When you're in your house, your kids or your spouse, they are your neighbors. Those people who are physically near to us. And I think that's easy for us to understand. The hard part, I think, and the challenge for us, because we have phones in our pockets and TVs on our walls, is figuring out who's not my neighbor. You notice Jesus doesn't say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love everybody else. He doesn't say that. He says, love your neighbor. So who is your neighbor? Can I press you on this? If you have to learn about somebody's story from your phone or from the TV, they're not your neighbor. That doesn't mean you shouldn't care about them. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that your priorities should be such that you care far more about the people who are literally physically in front of you than the people who are out there. Can I show you one way that I caught myself doing this? For a long time, I was looking at COVID case statistics over the whole country or just Ontario, when I was struck by the fact that Canada's a big place. Have you guys realized that? And what's happening in Alberta or British Columbia really doesn't concern me that much. I care about those people. They're my fellow citizens. But what happens or doesn't happen over there does not change really much of what happens in my daily life. And so I stopped. I stopped looking at national statistics or provincial statistics. Actually, the region of Peel has a way that you can look at just Mississauga's COVID cases. You can even zoom in on your own neighborhood if you want to do that. That's what I started doing because I want to love my neighbor. Maybe you're concerned with geopolitical issues like what's going on in China or Australia or the United States. It's not that you shouldn't care about those things, but those people are not your neighbors. And Jesus says, love your neighbor. If you know more about what's going on in those countries than you know about what your next door neighbor is dealing with because of the pandemic, you're not loving your neighbor. If you're more concerned with what's going on in your phone than your children that are sitting right in front of you, you don't love your neighbor. It's good for us to remember not just who is our neighbor, but who isn't our neighbor. Not because we shouldn't love them, but because God knows that he put us in this specific physical spot on the earth at this time for a reason. To be neighbors to the people around us.